Tim, thanks very much for joining us. Is Marius Kloppers, the boss at BHP Billiton, trying to get this one on the cheap?
Look, I think he's offered a fair price for what is a 20% share of global production of this strategic commodity. I think it's very consistent with his expansion strategy into grabbing a larger share of commodities where he's a price maker rather than a price taker.
Well, the price has gone down so much. I mean, it was trading at 240 or thereabouts, and, you know, we were looking at an offer here of 130. I mean, some are saying he's going to have to come in with a bid of 160 before the chief executive there of Potash even starts looking at him and talking to him.
Well, it comes down to the old cliche. Your first price is rarely the best, and in BHP's case, they're the most cashed up, financially powerful miner in the world. So when they come sniffing at your door, it's very rare that you're going to go and welcome them in on the first knock.
You know, we've seen Mr. Kloppers there also fail with his bid with Rio. How much of his reputation is at stake with this particular approach?
Rather than ego being the question shareholders should be asking, I think it's more of an issue of shareholder value. If he thinks this deal is going to be accretive for BHP shareholders, which looking at the market dynamics governing potash, which are quite attractive, then rather than considering boardroom stoushes, I think it would be quite admirable if he wasn't willing to pay too much for it.
Tim, walk us through potash. How has it done? Yeah, how has potash done relative to some of these other agri-commodities out there? And plus, on top of that, does he, by actually taking a 20% share in this, become, as you just mentioned, you know, the real price leader?
Well, buying Potash Corp will give him a world-leading position in terms of production. But unlike other ag commodities, potash, in terms of the pricing structure and market conditions, trades more like bulk metal commodities such as iron ore and coal. The world is dominated by relatively few producers and prices are negotiated on an annual benchmark basis. So in terms of strategy, getting into the potash game is very similar with what BHP does with its other major commodities.
Right, so is that why potash he's more comfortable with that rather than, let's say, some of these other agricultural issues?
Well, certainly, BHP doesn't want to be subject to cyclical swings in market demand. It wants to have a very strong market position where it is alongside a few other strong producers, whereby when times get tough, rather than price falling severely in response to falling demand, suppliers can cut back on production and leave the ball in their court for when the cycle turns up again.
Right, so soft commodities at a cyclical low, essentially, even though we have seen some rocket up given what's happening weather-wise.
Well, yeah, you've seen some strong performances in wheat over the last month, but if you look at the performance of the Rogers Soft Commodity Index over the last decade, it's effectively gone sideways. And if you compare that to the metals index, which is up 300%, there's, if you're a bull on global population growth and the declining trend in arable land per capita over the last 50 years, you're going to have to ask questions about when there's going to be a bit of a catch-up.
Tim Morris, thanks a lot for that. Tim Morris there from Wyazal.